I will show you how to do regression and optimization in Excel using an example that the applied micro people are doing right now. So the content may not be relevant, but the technology is very similar. At the beginning of any econometric project, you are given a lot of data, which most of them are not relevant at all. So the thing you need to do is to clean the data. So you have a big data set like this. You want to select the variables you want and select the observations you want. So for example, here you have two types A and B, and you want to only the type A data. So what you do is go to sort and filter here, and click this one and uncheck B and OK. Then the ones with type B will all be removed, and only A's are left. And what you do is you just select the columns, say all the columns you want, and then copy and paste the columns into another table. I will not do it here. So I have constructed this table already. So suppose what you are doing here is writing demand as a function of a lot of other things. For example, price and other things. The other price is the price of other good, and income is income, and the other dummies, I don't care what those are. And the way to do a regression is basically go to data here, data analysis, and go down to regression, click OK, and input Y range. Y range is just the regressand. So you select the last one and go back to the top. Remember to press Shift, select the first one. And similarly, select the X range, you need to select all the X variables. So you basically want to include the design matrix in it. And the design matrix here is starting from this cell, go down to the bottom, and then remember to press Shift again and select the last one. So you select the whole table basically, and then go back and click labels. Label means you included the label row. If you don't check here, then you are assuming that these labels are part of the data, which is not. And then of course you can output into a range or another worksheet. What I did is I output it into another worksheet. So suppose you check OK here, which I will not do, and what you will see is a table like this. So the table contains most of the statistics you want. The R squared, the percentage of data that's explained by the regression. So this is very high here, so it means it's useful. And F-test is similar, it's testing whether this model is good compared to the null model. And of course, there are all the t-stats and all the p-values. So when the p-value is small, you reject that variable does not affect the regression. So these ones are useful, which means the own price is of course a useful predictor. And say here, this p-value is very large, so it's irrelevant. So what it says is basically income is not relevant to demand. So the p-value is the probability that this income coefficient is 0 given the probability of getting the data given this income coefficient is 0, and this is large, which means this income is actually 0. So we do not reject the null hypothesis that the income has no effects on the demand. So for example, and the other ones are similar to the ones you learned already. And to regress for the cost function, then you know that cost function is always just a function of quantity. So if you want to higher order approximation, higher order regression, then you just include the Q squared here, which I'm not doing here because I am assuming it's constant. And suppose you want MC is something Q plus something Q squared, then you just add a column that's square of that one and you do the same regression. But anyways, you do exactly the same procedure, you will get the cost functions and the coefficients are here. What it reads is marginal cost is 2.5 minus 0.025 multiplied by quantity. So the p-value is significant here, which means this, of course, is only one regressor is useful, and even if this is small, it's still useful, so we will include it. So one thing that I did to simplify later computation is I assign names to these things, so I don't need to refer to this cell as B17, for example. So the way to do this is select this table and go to formulas and then click here, create from selection, and click created from the left column. And then you will be assigning these numbers to this variable name. So suppose here you want this number, you just type in equal to income, then you get that number here. So instead of referring this to like B9, 8, 20, I mean, you don't need to remember that, you just need to remember the name of that variable.